Welcome to Crushed Husband. Please like the video and subscribe. Let's begin. I wasn't supposed to be home until late that night. My team had finished the installation job early, and instead of dragging it out, I figured I'd surprise Kayla before her weekend trip. Maybe cook dinner, clean up a bit, something simple but thoughtful. That's just the kind of guy I am, or at least I used to be. My name is Brian. I'm 39 years old. I live in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I've been married to Kayla for almost 7 years now. When I walked into the house, everything felt normal, quiet. A little too quiet, maybe. The kind of stillness that doesn't feel peaceful, just off. There was laundry on the couch and the faint smell of perfume lingering in the hallway. I figured Kayla must be upstairs, getting ready for her trip. "Kayla!" I called out. "Up here!" she yelled back from the bedroom. Her voice sounded cheerful, normal. I smiled and took the stairs 2 at a time, half joking to myself that maybe we could fit in a quick dinner date before her trip. But when I got to the bedroom, something stopped me cold. She was standing by her suitcase, folding a cardigan and humming to herself, her back to me. Her phone, sitting on the nightstand, buzzed. Now, let me be clear. I've never been the jealous type. I've never snooped through her phone, never checked her messages, but this time, something made me look. Maybe it was the timing. Maybe it was the way the text preview popped up with just enough words to punch me in the gut. "Same room as last time. I'll stay till morning this time. Promise I didn't move." I didn't say a word. The message disappeared as quickly as it came. Her screen went black again, but I stood there, staring at it like it had cracked something open inside me. She turned around and smiled. "You're home early." "Yeah," I said, barely able to keep my voice steady. "Finished up sooner than expected." She nodded and zipped her suitcase. "That's great. I'm glad you'll get to relax tonight." I just stood there, trying to make sense of the calm on her face. She wasn't flustered. She didn't act like she had anything to hide. She kissed me on the cheek, told me not to eat too much junk food while she was gone, and walked out the door like it was any other Friday. And I just stood there. I didn't ask her who the message was from. I didn't even mention it. I watched her drive away, her taillights disappearing at the end of the block, and I felt something settle in my chest. A kind of stillness, a numbness, the beginning of something I couldn't name yet. But I knew it wasn't going away, not this time. I didn't sleep much that night. After Kayla left, I sat in the kitchen with a beer I didn't really want, just staring at the tile floor and trying to convince myself I was wrong, that I'd misunderstood the message, that maybe it was from one of her girlfriends joking around. Maybe same room as last time was just some inside joke I didn't get. But deep down, I knew better. I kept replaying her face in my mind, calm, cheerful, like nothing was out of the ordinary. That's what rattled me the most. How easy it seemed for her, how practiced. I got up and paced around the kitchen, opened the fridge, closed it again without grabbing anything. My phone buzzed once. A picture from Kayla, her and 2 friends holding wine glasses in front of a lake. The message below it just said, "Miss you already. Miss me." Right. I sat back down and stared at the photo. The smile on her face looked real. But after what I saw, how was I supposed to know what was real anymore? I kept thinking about the last couple of months, the little things that didn't register at the time, like the new perfume she started wearing, the one she never mentioned, never said she bought, the late-night gym sessions, 2, sometimes 3 times a week, always right after dinner, always gone for almost 2 hours. She'd come back sweaty, sure, but also glowing in a way that didn't feel like post-workout energy. And then there were the phone calls, the ones she took in the backyard or in the car, always stepping out of the room like it was just a normal thing. "It's just Jasmine," she'd say. "She's going through stuff." Maybe Jasmine was real, but maybe not. I sat there for a long time, my thoughts spinning so fast they started folding in on themselves. I wanted to believe there was another explanation. I really did, but I couldn't unsee that message. "I'll stay till morning this time." That line kept stabbing at me. I thought about confronting her, just calling her up, saying, "Who's the guy?" But I couldn't do it, not yet. Not without more than one message on a phone. Not when part of me still wanted so badly to believe this was a mistake. See, I needed to be sure, and I wasn't ready for the answer. Because what if it wasn't a mistake? What if she really was doing this behind my back? What if this marriage, the life we built together, was already broken and I just hadn't seen it? That thought made me sick. I opened our wedding album on my phone, We looked so young, so sure of each other. I kept swiping through the photos until I found one that made me stop. It was Kayla, standing under the string lights at the reception, laughing with her head tilted back, her hand reaching for mine. I used to love that picture. Now, I didn't know what to feel. By 2 a.m., I was still sitting there, completely alone in a house that suddenly felt unfamiliar, like I had woken up in someone else's life. I stared at the front door, half expecting her to walk in and explain everything, like this had all been a dream. But she didn't. And it wasn't. I went upstairs and crawled into bed, lying on top of the sheets, fully clothed, staring at the ceiling. The smell of her shampoo was still on the pillow. I didn't cry. I didn't even get angry. I just lay there with this growing, heavy thing inside me. Dread, confusion, betrayal. Whatever it was spreading fast. And I knew this was only the beginning. By Monday, I couldn't pretend anymore. Kayla had texted once Sunday night, just a simple, made it home safe, love you. I didn't answer. I couldn't. I wasn't ready to lie and say, love you too, when I didn't even know who I was talking to anymore. I started going over everything in my head like a detective piecing together a case that had been open for months. Every moment that felt off. Every strange excuse. Every story that didn't quite line up. And suddenly, there were a lot more than I remembered. I thought back to 2 months ago, the morning I found a men's jacket in the back seat of her car. It was draped neatly across the upholstery like someone had taken it off in a hurry. I asked about it, and she barely blinked. "Oh, that's Brett's," she said, "Jasmine's boyfriend. I gave them a ride last week after trivia night." I didn't think much of it at the time, but now I couldn't stop thinking about the way she didn't hesitate, like the story had already been prepared, like she'd expected the question. That morning, I had shrugged it off, told myself it didn't mean anything. Now it felt like a flashing red light I had driven right past. And then there was the hotel key card. That was maybe 3 weeks ago. I'd been cleaning out the catch-all drawer in the kitchen, the one where we keep rubber bands, receipts, coupons that expire before we remember they exist. Buried under a stack of takeout menus, I found a key card in a paper sleeve. Sherwood Hotel, room 214, no date on it, just a room number and the little gold logo. I'd asked her about it, almost without thinking. "Oh," she said, like she hadn't expected me to find it. "That's from when I went to that spa weekend with the girls, remember? Jasmine booked it. I think that's the hotel she used." She smiled, then went right back to loading the dishwasher. But she never mentioned staying at the Sherwood, and I remember thinking it was weird because she usually loved telling me every little detail about those girls' trips. She once gave me a 30-minute play-by-play of a wine tasting where nothing happened. But this? A hotel stay she suddenly forgot to mention? The more I thought about it, the less it made sense. I Googled the Sherwood. It was across town, not exactly a spa destination, no pool, no massage packages, just a mid-tier business hotel near the highway. I sat there in the living room that night with that key card in my hand, just turning it over and over until my fingers went numb. Everything I had brushed off before was starting to close in around me, a pattern I didn't want to see, but now I couldn't look away. This wasn't just a gut feeling anymore. It was a puzzle I had started to solve. A story that had been unfolding behind my back while I thought we were still writing it together. I looked around the living room, at the framed wedding photos, the anniversary cards tucked into the bookshelf, the candle she always lit when she wanted the house to feel extra cozy. All of it felt like props on a stage. And I was the only one in the audience who didn't realize the play had ended. I wasn't ready to confront her, not yet, but I couldn't keep pretending. So I made a decision. I would find out the truth, all of it. And once I had it, I'd figure out what came next. Because one thing was clear now. I wasn't imagining it. I wasn't paranoid. Kayla wasn't just slipping away. She was already gone. Saturday morning came fast. I heard Kayla moving around before the sun was even fully up. Her suitcase was already at the door, neatly packed the night before. I sat in the living room pretending to scroll through my phone while she flitted from room to room. Makeup bag, charger, last-minute earrings. She didn't seem nervous. If anything, she looked energized. "Don't forget to eat something today," I said quietly, eyes still on the screen. She paused by the mirror near the front door, adjusting a hoop earring. "I'll be fine," she said with a small laugh. "I probably won't even have time to eat. The girls are dragging me on some hike or something." "Right," I said. "The cabin." "Lakewood," she said, slipping on her shoes. "We got it for the weekend. I shared my location with you last night, just in case you need it." That part was true. I'd already seen the pin on our shared tracking app, a cabin tucked near the edge of Lake Monroe, secluded, peaceful, surrounded by trees. "Have fun," I said as she kissed me goodbye. She smiled and shut the door. As soon as I heard her car pull away, I got up and grabbed my keys. I wasn't going there to make a scene. I wasn't even planning to speak to her. I just needed to see it, to know, really know, whether this was all in my head or if the cracks I kept tripping over were real. It took about 2.5 hours to get there. I didn't rush. I kept my music low and the windows cracked just enough to keep the air moving. When I pulled off the main road, I spotted her car immediately, parked near the side of a tan rental cabin with a wraparound porch and a view of the lake behind it. A few others were there too. The kind of weekend getaway spot friends rent together to drink wine and talk about nothing. I parked half a block away and walked through the woods on foot, keeping far enough back to not be seen. I didn't even know what I was hoping to find. I just needed something. And then I saw her. She was standing on the deck, red Solo cup in hand, laughing with a group of women I didn't recognize. Her hair was tied up in a ponytail, sunglasses perched on her head like some effortless accessory. She looked carefree, relaxed, like nothing in the world was pulling at her, like she didn't have a husband sitting in silence 2.5 hours away, watching his marriage splinter in real time. I stayed back. I didn't move, just watched. And then she pulled out her phone. She was talking and texting at the same time, one hand waving around as she joked with her friends, the other tapping something fast and deliberate into the screen. A second later, she laughed again and set the phone down on the railing. I saw her nod to one of the women, then take a sip of her drink. Whatever she was saying, it was light, flirtatious maybe. Whatever was on that screen, it wasn't for me. I stayed maybe 20 more minutes just watching her be her, or whoever she is now. And I realized something in that moment. She's already pretending this version of her life doesn't include me, and maybe it hasn't for a long time. I wasn't planning to stay long, just enough to settle the knot in my gut. But I couldn't leave, not yet. Not after what I saw next. I'd moved a little closer through the trees, just to the edge of the clearing. From where I stood, I could see through the cabin's big front window, straight into the kitchen. Kayla and her friends were inside now, laughing over snacks and bottles of wine. She leaned over the counter and picked up her phone again, the same one I saw buzz that day in our bedroom. She typed something fast, then dropped it on the counter face down like it was nothing. My eyes caught a small white rectangle next to her purse. I narrowed in. It was the same hotel key card, the one from the Sherwood Hotel, the same gold logo on the sleeve. My stomach turned. She had brought it with her. There was no reason for her to have it, not unless it meant something, not unless she'd been there recently, or was planning to go again. And then, like a punch to the ribs, something else happened. Kayla picked up her phone, pressed it to her ear, and turned her back toward the other women. She started talking, nodding, pacing slowly toward the back door. But her lips weren't moving. She wasn't on a call. I knew that look, that half-fake laugh, the pause before pretending to respond, like she was doing improv with herself, like someone might be watching. She was faking a phone call. I'd seen her do it once before, during a family barbecue, when she needed to escape my cousin's clingy girlfriend. Back then it was harmless, something people do when they need an exit, but now it was something else. Kayla finished her performance, smiled sweetly, and walked back inside. Her friends didn't question it. They just went on pouring drinks and chatting like everything was normal. I stepped back behind the trees. I felt cold, even though it was nearly 70 out. The key card, the fake phone call, the text she'd sent seconds before pretending to talk. I didn't need to see the name on her messages to know what was going on. She had made the decision a long time ago. She had chosen someone else, and she was hiding it with the same ease she used when booking dinner reservations or putting away laundry. Like it didn't matter, like I didn't matter. I leaned against a tree, hands shaking, trying to decide if I should go up there, knock on the door, force her to look me in the eye and explain it all, but I didn't. Because what would that give me? She wouldn't admit it. She'd find a way to twist it, to cry, to tell me I misunderstood. And I didn't want another lie to keep me tied to her. I turned and walked back through the woods, slow and deliberate, like I was leaving behind a version of myself I didn't recognize anymore. Back at my truck, I sat for a few minutes, staring at my reflection in the windshield. This was it. I didn't need proof anymore. I didn't need to check her phone or follow her around town. The way she moved, the way she hid, the way she laughed like I didn't exist, that was the truth. She wasn't just unfaithful, she was gone, completely. And she hadn't even bothered to take me with her. By the time Kayla came home Sunday evening, I'd already made up my mind. I didn't say anything when she walked through the door, dropped her bag by the stairs, and gave me that same breezy smile. "Hey, babe, miss me?" I nodded. "Yeah, how was it?" She launched into a story about hiking trails and wine tastings, acting like everything was normal, like she hadn't just spent the weekend lying to my face. I watched her as she talked, noticing the little details I hadn't paid attention to before, how her voice changed when she was stretching the truth, how she always glanced down and smiled to herself when she was hiding something. I'd seen it a dozen times. I just never realized what it meant until now. I didn't confront her. I didn't ask about the Sherwood key card. I didn't mention the fake phone call. I just nodded, asked casual questions, and let her believe I was still on the hook. But inside, I'd already let go. That night, while she showered, I walked into the closet and started pulling my things out. Not in a dramatic way, just a few pieces at a time. My old duffel bag, a couple changes of clothes, the framed picture of my dad and me that used to sit on the dresser, tucked into the bottom of my sock drawer now. I wasn't leaving yet, not physically. But I was leaving in every other way that mattered. Over the next few days, I kept up the act. We ate dinner together, watched TV. She even curled up next to me on the couch like nothing had changed. I didn't pull away, but I didn't lean in either. Emotionally, I was somewhere else. I started taking longer drives after work, stayed out an extra hour or two. No explanation. She didn't ask. She barely noticed. When I came home, I'd head straight to the guest room, said I was dealing with allergies, that I didn't want to keep her up with my coughing. She shrugged and went back to scrolling through her phone. The distance between us grew quietly, without argument, without fire, just space. That was the strangest part. There was no big fight, no slammed doors, no screaming. She didn't seem to notice that I was slipping away. Or maybe she noticed and didn't care. A week later, I moved some of my tools into the garage at my brother's place across town. Told Kayla I was organizing for a project. She nodded, barely looking up from her laptop. She thought we were in a rough patch. One of those stretches where couples drift and then snap back like rubber bands. But we weren't drifting. I was already gone. I just hadn't closed the door yet. And she was still playing a role in a marriage she'd already walked out of months ago. I didn't block her number. I didn't pack up everything. Not yet. But I stopped talking about the future. I stopped holding her hand. I stopped giving pieces of myself away to someone who didn't even realize I was breaking. The silence between us wasn't tense anymore. It was hollow, and I knew the only way to survive it was to keep pulling back until there was nothing left. Quietly, on my terms. 2 weeks later, we were sitting at a long table at Olive Garden, celebrating Jade's birthday. Kayla's daughter from her first marriage. She had just turned 17. The whole family was there. Her sister, her mom, a couple cousins I hadn't seen in months. It should have felt like a normal evening, but I wasn't there to celebrate. I was there to end something. I sat at the far end of the table, letting everyone talk, laugh, pass the breadsticks around. Kayla sat beside me, smiling like nothing was wrong. She even leaned in and whispered, "Jade's so happy you're here. I know it means a lot." I nodded, took a sip of water, let the moment stretch. When the cake came out, everyone sang and clapped. Jade blew out the candles, cheeks red with embarrassment. She looked beautiful, proud of her little moment, like any teenager would. And for a second, I almost backed out, almost convinced myself it wasn't the right time. But then I looked at Kayla. She was clapping too, like she was part of a picture-perfect family, like she hadn't spent the last 6 months pretending. That's when I stood up. I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out a manila envelope. Nothing dramatic, just calm, quiet, final. "Before we wrap up," I said, loud enough for the table to hush, "I've got something I need to say." Everyone turned toward me, some confused, some curious. Kayla furrowed her brow. "Brian, what are you doing?" I set the envelope on the table between us. "This is everything I know." She blinked. "Everything you know about what?" "About you," I said. My voice was steady, not loud, not angry. Just done. I looked at Jade. "I'm sorry to do this here, but I need you to hear it too." "Brian, what the hell is this?" Kayla said, her voice going tight. I opened the envelope and slid out a stack of pages. Printed messages, screenshots, photos. The hotel key card taped to a sheet of paper. A summary of her location history from the last month, pulled from the shared app. I slid it toward her. I know about the Sherwood Hotel. I know about the text you got the day I came home early. I know you've been lying to me for a long time. Kayla's mouth opened and closed like she couldn't find a place to start. You've been tracking me? I've been watching the truth fall apart in front of me, I said. You just didn't notice. Her mom spoke up. Wait, what's going on? Jade looked stunned. What does he mean? What hotel? Kayla reached for the papers, scanning the first page. Her face paled. This isn't what it looks like, she said, almost on reflex. It's exactly what it looks like, I said. Jade leaned forward, confused. Mom? Kayla turned to her daughter. It's complicated, okay? You don't understand. No, I said. She deserves to understand. Because she looked up to this, to us, and I'm not letting her live with a lie. Kayla's hands were shaking now. So what? You've been planning this? Number? I've been surviving this, I said. But I'm done now. I looked around the table. I won't cause a scene. I just wanted the truth on the table, for once. Then I turned to Jade. I'm sorry. I tried to protect what we had. But your mom made her choice. I pushed my chair back, picked up my jacket, and walked out. I didn't slam the door. I didn't yell. I just left. Because the truth was loud enough on its own. I moved out on a Tuesday. No dramatic confrontation. No long goodbye. Just a rented U-Haul, a buddy from work, and a quiet afternoon spent boxing up the pieces of a life I no longer recognized. Kayla wasn't home. I had planned it that way. I didn't want another conversation, another lie, another moment where she tried to twist my silence into guilt. She'd already done enough of that. I left the key on the counter and the wedding photo on the table. I didn't take much, just what was mine. Tools, clothes, some old keepsakes that still meant something. Everything else could stay. Let her figure out what it all meant now. She texted me that night. Kayla, I came home and you were gone. You really just walked away like that? I didn't answer. The next day she tried again. Kayla, can we talk? Please. I know things got messed up, but we can fix this. Fix. That was the word she always used. Like our marriage was a loose cabinet hinge, not a lie she'd been living in. Then came the voicemails. The shift from concern to anger was fast. Brian, you don't just get to disappear. After everything we've been through, this isn't how adults handle things. Then, fine. Run away. That's what you do best anyway. I listened to the first few, then deleted the rest without opening them. I was done handing out pieces of myself to someone who only ever took them for convenience. I didn't tell many people what happened. A couple close friends, my brother. Everyone else just assumed Kayla and I hit a rough patch and quietly split. I let them think that. I didn't need to explain. The truth was already heavy enough. At night, I sat on the tiny balcony of my new apartment, a second-floor walk-up that smelled like paint and freedom, and let the silence settle in. No perfume in the air. No secrets buzzing from an unlocked phone. Just me and whatever came next. And it felt clean. Not easy, not painless, just clean. Kayla kept reaching out for weeks. Her texts got softer again. She sent an old photo of us on vacation, smiling with our feet buried in the sand, and wrote, I miss this. I miss you. I didn't respond. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even heartbroken. I was tired. The kind of tired that comes from carrying something too long, only realizing how heavy it was after you finally set it down. One afternoon, I saw her name pop up again. Kayla. I just wish you'd say something. Anything. I almost typed out a reply. But what was there left to say? She made her choice. Not just once, but over and over. Every time she lied, every time she looked me in the eye and smiled with someone else's name in her head. I put my phone down and went for a walk instead. I passed a coffee shop I hadn't noticed before, sat on a bench near the corner and watched the light change over the buildings. It was quiet, and I realized that for the first time in months, maybe longer, I wasn't waiting for the other shoe to drop. There was no shoe anymore, just my next step. The future was blank, but it was mine again. And after everything, that felt like enough.